Hello, all. Happy Thursday. Welcome to September is Transit Month. We are kicking off this month with information session related to pre-transit benefits. I'm Kathleen Stugard. I'm the Director of Strategic Planning here at Campus Life Services. I'm focused right now on transportation and transportation items. I'm delighted to be here today to introduce Tyler Dewey, Transit Demand Manager. He'll be sharing a little bit about our Eden Red program, which is our pre-tax benefit program related to transit and parking. I won't share, I'll let him, I won't steal his thunder. So he's got a great presentation for you. Just a little bit of housekeeping to make this session most productive for you. We have about 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes of information Tyler will be sharing. Then we will be opening up the Q&A portion, and we'll answer questions live. And that this is a higher level broad program review. And then if you do have currently have pre-tax benefits and you have some particular questions related to your personal account, please do put your question into the Q&A with your name. Don't be anonymous. We won't mention your name or anything, but this will allow us to follow up with any individual items. We will not be following up with individual cases during this call. We want to take our time to be able to communicate with you individually. That sound good? So with that, Tyler, I'm delighted to introduce you. Thanks so much for kicking Transit Month off with our first informational session.
Thank you, Kathleen. I appreciate the introduction, and I'm excited to talk about pre-tax benefits today. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen. And looks like it's sharing. So today we're going to talk about how to save money while commuting. We're going to give an overview of pre-tax transportation benefits. So we'll start with the biggest question. So what are pre-tax commute benefits? It is an IRS-defined benefit. So it is something that's available through the federal tax law. It allows employers and employees to exclude quote unquote qualified transportation expenses from wages. So for us as employees, this allows us to, if we participate in the program, lower our tax basis, which can save us money over the course of the year. Depending on individual specifics on how much you make and how much you elect to use the program, it can save you around $700 per year, which is a significant savings. So then, next question would be, what are qualified expenses? The allowed costs include public transportation, so that would include Muni, BART, Caltrain, Golden Gate Ferry, San Francisco Bay Ferry, any of the things we think of as public transportation. You can also use it just to buy a Clipper card, load a Clipper card. You can use it for Amtrak, van pool, Uber shuttle, but also parking permits as well. And then how does it work? And again, we're going to stay high level for just right now. So you make your order, your pre-tax deduction via Edenred, which is our third-party vendor. And then the amount that you select is deducted via payroll. So again, you make your pre-tax deduction elections via Edenred. The order is deducted from your pay pre-tax. And then it is placed on a commute benefit debit card. And the benefit card only works for those qualified expenses, which we discussed earlier. So some examples of things that you can use and ways you can use these qualified transit funds. All of the funds are placed on what they call a terminal restricted debit card. That means that you can use it to pay for transit or parking, but you couldn't go into the corner store and use it to buy like a Snicker bar or a soda. It has technology on there that limits it, so it can only be used at vendors who say that they sell transit or parking. So for example, you could use the card to load your Clipper card. You could use it to pay for our UCSF Uber shuttle program, a van pool invoice, a UCSF parking permit, a permit at one of our park and ride lots, or even for use at one of the street meters using it like a debit card. And then how much can you spend using pre-tax funds? For 2025, the deduction limit pre-tax is $325. This amount is renewed annually or renewed and reviewed annually by the IRS. So for 2026, and that's calendar year 2026, it may go up. We don't know yet. Usually they announce what the pre-tax limit will be in October or November. So we'll know shortly what it will be for 2026. You can elect to order more. So for example, a monthly permit for UCSF is $332. You can elect to get that entire payment on your card, but only $325 will be deducted from your pay pre-tax. The rest would come out post-tax. Transit and parking are put on your card and paid out of two separate buckets. Generally, you can fund both buckets, but you cannot pay for transit using your parking funds. There is a limited exception to that rule, which I'll talk about next. So flex rollover funding is now allowed, and it gives us new flexibility that didn't exist in previous years. So flex funding allows rolled over funds to be used for either transit or parking. Again, this only applies to those rolled over funds. So for example, if I elect to get a $332 deduction for parking in November, and I only use 260 parking dollars in that month. So for example, maybe I thought I would use a monthly permit, but I decide against it and I only use daily parking. So I haven't used all of my parking funds for that month in November. The unused $72 rolls over into December. Then in December, I will have $72 in flex parking that I could use for parking or transit. So again, if I elected for 332 again in December, I would have that 332 for parking, plus that 72 in flex rollover funds, which I could use for parking or transit. So this flex rollover spending is a way to get more flexibility, more use out of those dollars. Now we'll talk about navigating the ordering process. So if you haven't made an order yet, making your first order is easy. There is the new URL for the Eden Red benefits. You can also use the previous URL. This is brand new. It will automatically redirect you to this account. So it doesn't, if you're using the one that's currently on our website, it will still get you to the same place. But then you just click set up my account. One key thing to note is they'll ask for a company ID. UCSF is 1550. You'll enter your first name, last name, and home zip code or employee ID. And I put an asterisk next to home zip code because sometimes there may be a disconnect. Red gets your home zip code based on what the information is in UC Path. So sometimes there can be a disconnect and your current zip code isn't the one on file and it may not recognize you right away. So if that happens, you can reach out to us and we can correct it. When you're first creating your account, you'd confirm your new username, create a password, and then continue on to complete your registration. To place your first order, you would click on Elect Benefits, and then you would select which type of benefit you want and how much. If you want transit, if you want parking, if you want both. If you're making a first-time order, they will load your order onto one of those prepaid debit cards and then send the debit card to your house. If you already have a card and you place an order, that will just be automatically digitally loaded, those funds loaded to your card. If you have an account but you haven't used it in a while, we can help you reset your account. If you've forgotten your password, if you've forgotten your username, something like that, reach out to us and we can make sure you get sorted and are able to access the site. One thing to note that when you're placing orders, there is a $3 admin fee for months you have an active order or paused an order. So when you make an order, you can set it to be for 1 month only. You could set it up to be recurring deductions. You could even go in advance and say, I want the deduction in these specific months, and I want to pause for these specific months. If you do that and you pause an order for a certain amount of time, they will continue to charge that admin fee for months you opt out. Now to think about ordering timelines. The funding is not automatic or immediate. So the next election deadline is September 23rd. Every month, the ordering deadline is the 23rd of the month. So this next deadline is September 23rd, but that is for use in November. So the orders we're placing this month are for what they call, INRED calls, the November benefit month. The payroll deductions will occur in October. If you're a biweekly paid employee, you'll see your order split across both biweekly paychecks. So the easy example, if I elect to have $100 deducted for transit funds, as a biweekly employee, I would see 50 out of one paycheck and 50 out of the other. Monthly paid employees would see that one deduction. The card is funded in the same way. So that biweekly paid employee, your funding would come in two batches linked to those paychecks. The total order will be loaded by November 1st. Monthly funds are also loaded in one batch, usually the last week of the month. Again, you can make a change any month by the 23rd of the month. So if you want to reduce your order, increase your order, pause your orders, stop placing orders, you'd have to do that by the 23rd of that month. So it's important to think about those ordering and funding deadlines because some of our transportation programs require purchase in advance. So here, we have just a small calendar showing the next 3 months. That ordering deadline is the red circle at the top, September 23rd. Uber shuttle program, for example, the ordering and purchasing for November would open up in the middle of October. The funds on biweekly paid employees would get funded around the 5th of October and the 19th of October. So that second funding, your complete order, since it's for use in November, would not be on your card until October 19th. So if you want to buy Uber shuttle in October, you couldn't do it using a November benefit month order. The triangle is when monthly cards for October would be funded. So that's a benefit month, November, would be funded October 27th. So again, if you want to purchase something October 15th, October 12th, October 16th, you couldn't do it with that November benefit month order. You have to think a little bit further in advance. The same is true for park and ride lots. Generally, we ask that you purchase your park and ride lot permit a little early. And so you have to be aware of those funding and ordering deadlines because September order is for use in November. So you couldn't use it to pay for things in October. That October 23rd ordering deadline, that then is for December benefit month. There are some more other important limitations that I want to discuss real quickly. So there are some IRS restrictions on the way the program can be used. In this way, it's very similar to sort of a transportation FSA. So funds that are put on the card cannot be refunded to cash. So if you want to try it out in September, but it turns out you don't like the program, you don't want to use it, and you have those funds on the card, you can't get those funds refunded to cash. They must be spent on transit or parking. Again, the funds do roll over from month to month and year to year, so it's not a total use it or lose it like other FSAs are. And the flex funds allow rolled over funds to be used for transit or parking. But if you separate from UCSF, the card will stay open for about 30 days, but any remaining balance after the 30-day period is returned to UCSF. And again, if you put funds on the card, you have to use them for transit or parking. The flex fund option would allow you to, if you have parking funds on there and you actually want transit, you could spend it on transit, but you can't get the money back as cash. That is really just about time, and that covers the main overview of our pre-tax parking program. So I just want to quickly mention and plug our upcoming other presentations. So we have two more great presentations for Transit Month. Next week, September 11th, we have I Love You Uber Commute Shuttle to talk about the new UCSF Uber Commute Shuttle program. And then on September 18th, we have San Mateo County commuters discovering the free commute perks for those commuters coming up from San Mateo County. Now I'm going to stop share and we can open it up for some Q&A.
Yeah, I have some questions that I think you can answer. Tyler, first one, does fast track apply? Can you use your pre-tax benefits to do your fast track card?
That is a very good question, and the answer is no. It's only for that qualified parking expense. Tolls and gas are not eligible expenses.
Oh, darn it. Shoot. Okay, here's a question related. Do you have to use a different Clipper card for work and personal travel? So maybe it's the distinction with how how you can use that pre-tax card.
That is a great question. You would not need to use a different Clipper card. The program is not audited or reviewed in that fine grained detail, so you can put it just on your Clipper card. It just has to be used for transit expenses. Technically, the same is true for parking. So, like, you could use it for street meters that technically aren't affiliated with your work commute. Um, if you want to. But a thing to note is, for example, we've seen this happen. If I elect to get the $332 for my monthly UCSF permit, but that is all I've elected to use. If I go and purchase a street meter for like $1.50, depending on the timing, that would take my balance on the card below 332, and then you wouldn't be able to buy a monthly permit because you wouldn't have the full amount to buy a monthly permit. We can't. So it's something, if you plan on using your card for non-work expenses, you just want to track that balance so that you always have enough to purchase the transportation that you want.
So that's a great segue to a question. UCSF monthly costs are 332, but the maximum that you can do pre-tax is 325. How do
Mhm.
you make that work?
You can elect to get the full 332 taken out of your pay and put on the Edenred card. However, only the 325 will be deducted pre-tax. So in that case, if I elect to get 332 deducted and to use and pay my monthly permit, I would see on my paycheck a before tax deduction of 325, and then the remaining $7 would come out post-tax. And so you'd see the full savings of that 325 pre-tax deduction, but there would be an additional $7 deduction post-tax taken, but all 332 would be put on your card so you could buy the monthly permit.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So I can deduct as much as I need, but some will come out pre-tax and some will come out post-tax.
Exactly.
Great, thanks. Okay, here are a couple more questions. What if you park and ride at Caltrain, but you still need to have two separate accounts to pay for the parking cost and then for the transit cost?
You wouldn't need two separate accounts, but you would have to make two separate deductions, one for the parking and one for the transit. Since you cannot combine buckets the way the card is set up, you would just have to make two separate deductions. And so you'd want to pay attention to how much the Caltrain parking was and elect to have that much deducted, and that would come out depending on the cost pre-tax, and then do the same for transit. So you need to use both those. You could use the same card and same account, but you have to make those two separate elections.
Yeah, I think the honestly, guys, the Caltrain, and I just did it myself. It is that machine is a bit tricky. So you do it has to be configured for both parking using your Edenred and transit for using your Edenred. I would really suggest you have two separate transactions. One is for parking, and then you do another transaction on that machine, and one would be for transit. You could probably use the same card, but I would separate those two transactions. That's just a tip for me. Next question is, can you use this yeah, pre-tax for our Uber commute shuttles?
Yes, you can use it for your Uber commute shuttle, but just remember and keep in mind those dates in which the card will be used for. So if you are buying your Uber shuttle for, if you're, think about that date that you have to make the purchase and you need all your funding available and ready to use before that purchase date.
And you know what? Also reminds me that pre during COVID, you could use your pre-tax to do Uber or Lyft. Can you do that now?
No, you cannot. And so, yes, before COVID, they had Uber and Lyft both had sort of shared ride programs. Those were allowed by IRS guidelines. That has changed as Uber and Lyft have changed their programs. So Uber and Lyft is no longer an eligible qualified transportation expense.
But you can use it for our Uber shuttles.
Yes, Uber
Awesome.
shuttle is allowed.
Okay. Here's our next one. For the monthly $7 be purchased as transit 1 month ahead and have that rollover balance used the next month. With $7, I don't think you might not have any rollover, but
I think this was the Caltrain question where it's the parking and.
oh, maybe the
Mhm,
related
Or
the
the-
Caltrain for parking versus transit.
mhm.
Tyler, you want to try to take a stab at that one?
I will just say, anytime you have unused funds on the card for a specific month, they do roll over to the next month into the next year, and they do sort of accumulate. So if you um, find yourself um, placing orders for transit, let's say you order $100 for transit, but you only use 80 every month, that $20 will continue to sort of accrue in your account, so you can build up a balance. We recommend trying to keep your deduction as close to the amount you're actually using as possible. Again, since you cannot get the funds back and off the card, there is no benefit to building up a large balance.
Yeah. Can you just revisit the question related to, our monthly parking at UCSF right now is $332, but the
Mhm,
federal max is 325. Can you tell us a little bit
mhm.
about how that might work again?
Yeah, absolutely. So the federal pre-tax limit is $325, but the program allows you to get the deduction for more than just the pre-tax limit. So you can say, I want the full $332 put on my benefit card, but only $325 will be deducted from your pay pre-tax. There will be a $7 deduction that will be taken post-tax. And you would see this at the end of the year. You would see all your deductions, and it's listed on your pay stub. You'll see a before tax deduction and an after tax deduction. One would be 325, the other would be for the remaining seven. But you have that, ultimately, you have the full 332 on your card, usable so you can buy the monthly permit. But again, only that 325 will be deducted pre-tax. The other seven will be deducted post-tax.
Got it. Hopefully that answered the question. Any other, let me think about some other questions that I might ask. So tell me a little bit, if my balance gets really high and I feel, oh, I'm never gonna use it for parking, or my parking commute options change and I've got 1,000, I've got
Mhm.
$500 in pre-tax, but now I'm going to be doing something completely, I'm going to be carpooling, which isn't an option.
Yeah.
Tell me, or isn't an option for pre-tax use. Tell
Yeah.
me, what can I do?
That's where the new flex rollover feature is very helpful. So if you find yourself with a large balance, most likely that will go and start to be put into your flex rollover account. So if you find that you've ordered more parking deductions than you actually use, those rolled over funds then can be used for transit or vice versa. And so that's a way to give that more flexibility. So if you notice that, for example, maybe you're away from campus for a month on vacation, but you forgot to cancel or pause your order so you have an extra month of parking on your card. That would eventually move into your flex rollover, and you could use that to fund get a Clipper card, pay for transit, something like that. So you could start to use it for more purposes than just the parking.
Yeah, but I just want the cash back. Is that possible?
Unfortunately, that is not possible, and that's due to the IRS regulations and the IRS guidelines.
Perfect. Yeah, next question is, I often have trouble at the Caltrain stations getting the card to work. Is there a way to electronically use the debit card to add more money to my Clipper card?
There is, it might be a little bit of a, take a little bit of a workaround, in that you can link your debit card to your Clipper account to say, I want to load my Clipper from this card. You can't, unfortunately, you cannot digitize the Eden Red benefit card, but you can link it to a Clipper card account to get those Clipper cards loaded and funded like you would another debit card.
Okay, we can take some more questions. I know Vicky is typing an answer to another question right here, but let's see. Sorry for the confusion, but the $7 transit rollover question was for the monthly UCSF parking permit. That's $332. Can people deduct the $7 difference as transit 1 month before and $225 for parking the month for a total of $332 of pre-tax funds available? Let me,
It's like you could, but there are easier ways to do it.
yeah.
Basically, for the UCSF permit, that's 332, you can elect to get that full 332, and it will automatically take 325 pre-tax, 7 post-tax, and put the 332 on your card. And so you don't have to worry about it. You could order $339 and get more taken out and have some roll over. But the smoothest way to buy a 332 monthly permit is just to elect to deduct that 332, and then automatically on the payroll side, they will pull 325 pre-tax, 7 post-tax, and put the full 332 on your card.
Feel free to reach out to us on that one. The advice that I might give is that I might deduct 335 and just so I could have a little bit of buffer in case I forget and I use it at a meter, and then therefore I will always have 332 available. Because remember, you got to plan ahead with your deductions in order to make it work for the month that you want to use it. Okay, here's a question. You may not have the answer, Tyler, but will they improve the cards so that they have chips and work better?
Yes, we are. I don't know what the timeline would be, but that is something we raise with Eden Red. We would like to have a more flexible, usable card.
Yeah. So we have time for maybe 1 or 2 questions. If you want to type them in there, please do. Thank you, Tyler, for sharing all of your information and knowledge about the pre-tax program. Just as an example, how many of UCSF employees actually use pre-tax benefits?
Currently, it's about 10%.
Okay. Okay, this is related to I'm retiring in July, but how long does it take to cancel? What are your ideas about? Yeah, can you
Yes,
go over that?
that is
That's
a
a great
great
question.
that is a great question. So I assume we're retiring in July 2026. So we can think backward. So for benefit month July, those orders would be deducted in June, and that order would be placed in May. So if you want to cancel, you would have to think about 2 months, 3 months in advance. So depending on how exact date of retirement, if it was in July, you would want to start thinking about canceling in May or April.
Okay, here's great. Okay, will there be okay, thank you. Got some questions. You've got that question done. I think we have we're having some folks express some interest in Muni passes or the Bay Pass, and so we are currently in a pilot phase of the Bay Pass, and we're hoping that 2026 we'll know that what that program looks like very soon, and we know we'll keep in mind of the timing of Edenred should we need to incorporate pre-tax benefits in that. So hopefully that's that. So currently we don't offer a program that is discounted muni. The best way right now for pre-tax, unless you are part of the pilot that is currently underway. Okay, we are over. Tyler, thank you so much for your knowledge. Again, we can answer questions at transportation@ucsf.edu. Thank you to the strategic planning unit team of Vicky, Tyler, and Natasha's been in Europe, but Natasha for setting up these informational sessions. This is the first of 3. We have one next week related to the Uber shuttle. We hope you join us. Please do register. It's on September 11th. And then this third one that we have is on September 18th, I believe, and it's related to San Mateo County transportation and commute.org perks and benefits. So thank you so much. We've enjoyed having you, and have a rest of great day and happy transit month. We encourage you to use your public transit and to share rides, and all of our shuttles as well. If you do see any of our shuttle drivers, please do give them a wave. The whole team works really hard to provide commute options and transportation options for the UCSF community. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.